the New York Times looks at Apple CEO Tim Cook's road to promoting digital security. It began when Edward Snowden released information about mass government surveillance. Cook said he values his company's physical products, not the details of customers' lives. The executive has used his influence to be more vocal recently about political and social issues.
One example is his battle with the FBI to stop the government from accessing locked cell phones. Apple fired back against the FBI directive. Cook wrote, quote, "The government is asking Apple to hack our own users and undermine decades of security advancements. Major tech companies side with Apple." Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey tweeted, "We stand with Tim Cook and Apple and thank him for his leadership." Google and Facebook also expressed support.
Public opinion varies. Some say the company should help fight terrorists like the San Bernardino killers. Others argue our civil liberties are at risk here. NYPD Deputy Commissioner of Intelligence and Counterterrorism John Miller is back at the table. He is, as you know, our former senior correspondent, and we like him very much. John Miller, welcome back.
Nice
it's always
to be
good
back.
to see you. Following up on what Charlie said that Tim Cook said, he says further, the government suggests this tool could be used once and only once on one phone, but that's simply not true. Once created, the technique could be used over and over again on any number of devices.
Well, first you have to ask Tim Cook, does he even trust his own people? What the government has offered is to hand in his phone. It's an older model phone, so it'll be easier to get into. And for them to develop a technique to get past the passcode lock, which is the thing that makes it erase the whole phone after 10 false tries. They said you can go in there, do it in your own lab. If you figure out the formula and crack open this phone to the point that we can then try codes against it, you can tear that formula up, toss it in the fireplace, and throw it away. So unless he thinks one of his trusted engineers is going to run out and tell the hacking world about this secret, I think that's a false flag.
But I think what Tim Cook is saying and Apple is saying is that when they create that software, they then will create that back door that will allow hackers and others to not only spy on that phone, but also other government phones.
If hackers can figure that out, they'll figure it out without Tim Cook. What the government is asking Tim Cook is, you designed it, you can design your way out of it for this one time, and then you can destroy that. The term I find most offensive is that the government, and this is what Tim Cook writes, is asking for a backdoor. The government is not asking for a backdoor. They have come in with a federal warrant based on probable cause, signed by a United States magistrate. That's how we do it in a democracy. They are asking for a front door. There is no bank, there is no safe company, there is no vault, there is no apartment, there is no door that can't be penetrated with a lawful order from a U.S. court. That's also how we protect our people.
So why do you think Apple is doing this, John?
Well, I think they're doing this just to take the shrillness of this down a level. I think for them this is a business model which is about privacy and security in an age where a lot of people, least of all the government, are trying to get into people's stuff and exploit it. So I think that there's a right reason for it, and I think there's a commercial appeal for it. The point is that they have put those interests ahead of all other interests. Tim Cook says, I'm doing this for the safety of my customers, meaning so that we have an impregnable phone. I have to ask, how many people who died on the floor in San Bernardino or in Paris had iPhones in their pockets as they were being killed by the terrorists? They are Tim Cook's customers too. Those are the people who buy all the Apple products. And you have to balance these two threats against each other.
Yeah, go
John,
ahead.
what is the worst case scenario?
I'll tell you the worst case scenario right now. When I go to bed at night, I think all day, what did I do and what little thing did I miss? Do you want to know what I think about today? I think about in that phone in San Bernardino of those two killers who murdered more than a dozen people and wounded more. Who were they in touch with? Did someone tell them to do it? And if that piece of information is in there and that can be exploited, who did that someone talk to here in New York City, and what could happen next?
And just quickly to that point, too, Apple has been cooperative with the government in the past. All of the information on that phone that was backed up to the cloud, my understanding is has been passed to law enforcement. But he stopped backing up his phone about a month and a half before the attacks. So the concern of law enforcement is, what did he do in that last month and a half? What's on that phone that suggests he may have been in contact with another cell, with someone overseas, et cetera?
You know, a phone isn't a phone. A phone is a giant mass storage device. There are notes in there. There are apps in there. There are all kinds of things in there that don't touch the cloud. There are things that do touch the cloud. There are things that are saved. There are documents. It's not really Apple or Verizon or any other company or Google's call to say, we'll decide what you should see with a lawful order.
Yeah, 2 points. One, Apple has in its advertisements, in its public statements, always said we're different from other tech companies because we're not out about the data about our customers. That's not what we do. We sell phones.
Right.
That's all we do. And that's what they've said. The second, though, can you, in a sense, say to Apple, I guarantee you there is no way that if you help us open this particular phone within the confines of your own technology location, that will not get out and other people won't use it.
The government's offer has been very specific here, which is get past one feature of this phone, we'll do the rest with a little bit of help, and then we'll move on to the next case. They're not talking about hand us a formula to use again.
What's amazing, again, back to what Nora said, is they've been working on this. This is not a new issue. This has been an issue between Apple and the government for a while.
You know, I have some experience with Apple, and I find that Apple is capable of doing what Apple wants to do. For 2 years, we talked to Apple about a device where you
When you're with the FBI or here?
With the NYPD.
Right.
We talked to Apple about having a kill switch on the phone, so when it was stolen, you could erase all your data. They said it couldn't be done until it became bad PR, and then they figured it out in 5 minutes. Apple's capable of what Apple thinks. Apple's capable of what Apple's capable of, and they'll decide to do it when they think it's right.
And they should do it now.
It's a court order. I don't know how they're special.
Okay.
Thank you, John.
All right, John Miller. Thank you very much.